Anime is one of the fastest growing categories on Netflix, but it can be hard not endlessly doom scrolling trying to find something to watch. And while everyone knows shows like Demon Slayer, Naruto, and One Piece are on it, this week I'm gonna give you guys 5 of the best anime on Netflix that you've probably seen while you're scrolling, but never actually stopped to click on. Starting with the best show of 2023 that nobody talked about. And sure, last year had some bangers like Zom 100, Vinland Saga Season 2, and JJK Season 2, but I couldn't believe nobody talked about this anime. Set in a future where AI robots and humans live and work side by side, the world is suddenly thrown into chaos by 2 seemingly unrelated crimes. The first being the destruction of a beloved robot named Mont Blanc, and the second being the murder of a human robot's rights activist. A sentient robot named Zack is tasked with finding and stopping the serial killer. He has to uncover the connection between the 2 crimes, learn the pattern of who the killer is targeting, and ultimately put a stop to their plan before the foundation of modern society begins to crumble. What's cool about this show is it's an adaptation of an anime that all weebs know, but few have actually seen. Does this kid look familiar? How about now? The show is called Pluto, and it's the retelling of the events of an arc from Astro Boy with a stylistic and perspective change. Where Astro Boy is clearly written for a younger audience, Pluto has a gritty, noir, much more mature feel to it by showing us the story through Gazette's eyes as opposed to Adam's. Pluto is a really faithful adaptation that hits on the most important plot beats of the arc. It just takes us on a darker, more thought-provoking journey to get there. And I think that the most important factor that allows it to do this is its runtime. Each episode gets 50+ minutes, so you as a viewer are able to immerse yourself in the world and really explore the questions, mysteries, and ideas that Pluto is trying to present. And personally, I'm a really big fan of that. I love any anime that's able to make me think not just while I watch it, but after I turn off the TV too, and Pluto is great at that. If you're into philosophy, the series touches on morality, free will, and a lot of other really thought-provoking themes that stick with you long after you finish the anime. If you enjoy shows like Psycho-Pass or Death Note, I think you'll really enjoy Pluto. But if you want something really different than anything else on this list, I think you'll really like the next one. It's about a 4-year-old boy who's living by himself. And while that might not sound like the most interesting anime concept, trust me, this is one of the most emotionally jam-packed anime I've ever seen. Karino is a struggling mangaka whose life is turned upside down when he hears a gentle knock on his door. He opens it and doesn't see anyone until he looks down and sees a small boy handing him a box of tissues as a gift to introduce himself as a new neighbor. His name is Kotaro, and he's a little strange, not just because he carries a toy sword with him everywhere he goes and speaks way too formally for his age, but because at 4 years old, he's living next to Karino alone. I love this anime. Kotaro is the most adorably awkward 4-year-old ever, and even though he's clearly exaggerated, I think the studio did a great job at nailing the little mannerisms and nuances that a young kid has to make him feel that much more alive and allow you as a viewer to really develop a bond with him. But do not let the cuteness and comedy fool you. This show is a roller coaster. They hang the mystery of Kotaro's origin over your head and drop it like a nuke when you find out what he's been through. I found the art weird at first, but I grew to really like it. The silliness of the visuals is key to helping the comedy land, but it doesn't take away from the more emotionally driven, serious scenes either. And you really need that balance for when the story gets heavy. On the personal side, as a new dad, I really identified with Karino and his found fatherhood. I sound like a cornball, but I saw a lot of myself and my boy Luca in how we interact on a day-to-day basis with how Kotaro and Karino do as well. So I think especially if you have a kid, or maybe if you have a younger sibling with a fairly large age gap between you two, this will hit just a little bit differently. You'll love Kotaro Lives Alone if you enjoyed shows like Buddy Daddies, Sweetness and Lightning, Usagi Drop. I mean, there's even a little bit of Spy Family to it. When I started watching Code Geass, one of the ideas that instantly drew me in was the premise that Britain never lost power and the US never existed. Real history twisted to help tell a brand new story. And if you're a fan of fictionalized history, this next show is going to be a lot of fun. In 17th century Japan lived one of the most famous warriors of all time. Given the title Kensei, translating to Sword Saint in English, Miyamoto Musashi holds the record for the most duels won with 61 victories in one-on-one combat. Safe to say, Rose the GOAT. But this anime takes its story in a very different direction. Musashi is hunting a demon. Using a gauntlet that absorbs the souls of demons it kills, it allows the wearer to tap into that power to help it collect more souls and grow stronger. But it takes a heavy toll on the user. You get to see Musashi travel through Japan in a reimagined version of his life, while incorporating key people and places, but also making them just as fantastical. If you asked Zack from 5 years ago what he thought about this animation style, he would have told you that he hates it. But I've matured. I'm coming to see the benefits that a 3D modeled anime can offer. You get an additional depth of cinematography using characters that can have the camera angled around them versus just on a flat plane. And in a show like this, where movement is so key, be it in huge leaps or powerful attacks, or in the uptight framing of one-on-one swordplay, the CGI just flat out works. The other thing that's an absolute standout in the show is the music. The opening is by Maneskin, which if you've been on TikTok for any amount of time, you've probably heard Zombie. If you enjoy anime like Demon Slayer or the show I'm about to show you, you'll love Ominusha. The Shikon Jewel is an ancient item said to grant any wish to its owner. It's safeguarded by the priestess Kikyo, who falls in love with a half-demon named Inu Yasha. The love the two share turns to resentment when they're lured into a trap and deceived into betraying one another. Inuyasha tries to steal the jewel, but on her deathbed, Kikyo pins him to a tree with a magical arrow, and the jewel is burned with her body and disappears. Kagome thought she was a normal schoolgirl, until a demon drags her into a well on her family's property, sending her back centuries to 50 years after the jewel disappeared. There she finds Inuyasha, still bound to the tree, and frees him to save her from the demon, only for it to get what it's wanted all along, the Shikon Jewel from within Kagome's body. But when the jewel breaks, it's up to Kagome, Inuyasha, and the rest of their friends to find the missing shards and put it back together again. As a kid, I was devastated when the original series had the most unsatisfying open-ended finale ever, and years went by and I always wondered what happened to Inuyasha. Until the final act. A sequel to the original series, picking up from where it left off, but giving the source material a faithful adaptation to the final arcs of the show. Unfortunately, Final Act isn't on Netflix, but it is on High Dive, so go sign up for a 7-day trial, get in, get out, avoid piracy, support the industry. What I don't think the newer generation of anime fans understand is Inuyasha was Naruto before Naruto. It's a long, sprawling adventure with a cast of characters that has great action, romance, drama, and at times can be surprisingly funny. I consider Inuyasha to be my gateway into becoming an anime fan, so I don't know if I can give a stronger recommendation than that. If you enjoy shows like Demon Slayer or Naruto and like classic anime art, you're going to love Inuyasha. The next show has some of the most breathtaking animation I've seen in years, and it's not even from Japan. A banished god has returned to the heavenly realm after centuries of exile. Shilian is looking to repair the damages he's done and is told to deal with a ghost in the northern part of the mortal realm to begin to atone. But it's not quite that simple. What seems like a straightforward investigation is anything but, and forces Shilian to question allegiances, alter perspectives, and wonder if heavenly beings are always as holy as they say. I mentioned a second ago that this show isn't from Japan, and it's not. It's a donghua, animation from China that takes heavy inspiration from Japanese anime. But don't doubt it just because it isn't from Japan. Other anime like Link Click and The King's Avatar already proved that Chinese stories go hard. Let's talk about the elephant in the room with this show, and I can't believe I actually have to do this. The main character's gay, which apparently some people need a warning about in advance. But seriously, if you let that stop you from watching this show, you're missing out on some of the best animation and the best music I've heard from any anime from any country in years. If you like Noragami or Inuyasha, I think you're really gonna like Heaven's Official Blessing. Now you have 5 anime to choose from that I know you can watch. I mean, who doesn't have Netflix? But you might need something more. Because after I marathon really serious anime, I always find myself wanting something a little bit different. So in this video right here, I'm gonna show you guys some of the most unhinged anime that have ever aired. If you want to see what happens if a girl became your right hand, an anime about licking a finger to become a slave, or getting an organ pulled out of your ass, you need to watch this.